you a business owner? Or perhaps you've just started your own business or responsible for sales? Either way, we would love for you to come to Networking 90. We are here to kickstart your business with a UK-wide, online-only networking group. So check out Networking 90, proud sponsors of Talking Town podcast.
Hello again, friends, and you are my friends, and welcome back to Talking Town podcast. It's Sunday, it's 1:30. As you can see, I'm playing Dad today because the wife decided to go out. She thought it was a free weekend, but there we go. So I won't be leading today, but before we do bring in today's hosts, I'm excited to see what they can do. It's always good to give people opportunities to run with the ball and see what they can deliver. I know Matt Phillips talks a good game, so let's see what he's got today as the dog hairs around the living room. Brilliant start. As always, we are sponsored by Networking 90. If you run your own business, don't get caught in the corner. Networking 90 is there to help you meet other professional business-minded people. You certainly can. Yes, you can. And that'll be, so networking90.co.uk. And another thing before I depart, I don't always sort of post this. We're not ones to give you these links every 20 minutes or so like some, but we do have a Ko-fi account. So if you do watch our stuff and you do want to give us a small donation as a way of saying thank you to help us with software and prize giveaways and things like that, then there's the link in the chat for you to follow. So today is a very special program. I'm excited to watch it. I know this one's excited. As you can see, he's got a front row seat because it's the Ipswich Town women's team that are joining us. We've got Paige, Peake, Sophie, Peskett, and of course the main man himself, Top Dog Joe Sheehan. And it's time to bring in who should we bring in first? Let's bring in Mr. Hartshrew. And there we go.
Hello.
So, boys,
hello.
How you doing?
Afternoon.
We're good. Finally, we're in charge.
Fine. Well, yeah. Let's see how you
Last time
let's see how you do.
we had a massive row with people on Twitter.
Yeah, let's not try to. Nick Muller. Hello. Good afternoon. Sophie. How cute. Thank you. I do try to be cute. And Rabbitman13. I think it means you. Rabbitman39. Hello, Martin. Callie. Link for the 34. Not don't. The first words my wife said to me on Friday night were
he's in the doghouse.
Was that my fault?
No, it
Was that my fault?
No, it
was mine.
It was his. Anyway, right. Ipswich Town women's team this afternoon. I will make sure the comments come on the screen. We want your comments in the comment section. Get them in. Get the questions in for the ladies, and of course, Top Dog Joe Sheehan. But lads, over to you. So enjoy. I'm ready to see what you can do with this one.
We'll see you in a bit then.
Yeah.
Put your feet up.
Right, what should we do, Rich?
Dale, we're in charge. He's gone.
Right. How do we get the guests in?
I think
Martin?
he presses the button.
Hello, Paige.
Oh, they're here.
Hello, Sophie. Welcome to Talking Town. The number one. We're still number one, aren't we, Rich? Podcast?
We're always number one. Don't listen to anyone else. Don't listen to anyone else.
How's things?
Very good. Very good.
Are you missing football? I guess so.
Yeah, slightly. Yeah, hopefully we haven't got to wait too long.
Yeah. It's all the indications that the season will start again in December.
I hope so. Yeah, we've had a few games rearranged, and one of them falls in December, and a few in January. So we're kind of hoping that should give us a good indication that there could be positive news coming up. So yeah, we're looking.
I see the Norwich games. The Norwich game's gone, isn't it, Joe? Because I think that was on the 2nd of December. Was it on a Tuesday or Wednesday night?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's gone. And I think we could be playing possibly the third week of December. Might be our first one, but we're awaiting official confirmation for that. I'm sure when we get closer to December.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, just for because obviously, most of our followers follow the men's first team, of course. Just to get an indication, where are you guys sitting in the kind of the pyramid? What league are you in? Because we know you guys were top. Lockdown hasn't been kind, has it? You're top of the table currently, and last season as well.
Yeah, we're in a kind of confusing situation actually for some outside of our bubble, shall we say, in terms of our women's first team play equivalent to like men's League 2. Where we're top of that, and we're also that last year. Where there's an element of confusion is that our academy team is effectively like the Cat 1 academy in the men's game. Our academy team play against all the teams in the top level, all of their academies. But obviously, our senior team plays 3 leagues, 4 leagues lower than that. So yeah, it's a bit of a crossover as such. It can be confusing at times, but yeah, that's kind of how it looks for us.
So both of you, go on, Matt.
I was going to say you've got a mix, haven't you, of sort of like non-league sides, like #United, for example, sitting side by side with like Leighton Orient. Yeah,
and I think that's the same up to right for certainly the Championship, the second tier. We'll have examples of that as well in terms of Sheffield United, Liverpool. Durham have got a team in it, and equally London Bees that are associated with Barnet. So yeah, that's quite consistent with the whole women's pyramid.
Okay.
So both of you, Paige and Sophie, do you play as well? You play for the first team. You play for the academy as well.
Yeah. So I used to play. I played for the academy last year. This year I played less for the academy, but we do both play for both.
Okay. Do you have like a big training regime and stuff? How does it work?
So
go on, Paige.
So Tuesdays we train, and then Wednesdays will be the ones games. Fridays we train, and then Sundays obviously first games.
Okay. Do you guys enjoy training, or because obviously your focus is now back on training, isn't it, with no matches, or would you rather just be playing the games?
We're not even training either. So
you got it. Oh, yeah. Paige and Sophie were saying you're doing stuff on Zoom, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, it's pretty much full lockdown for us at the moment outside. So yeah, so not much going on.
What do you think?
Can't even meet up with the masks.
So what do you think, Joe? With like the top 2 leagues are playing, aren't they, in the women's division? I believe.
Yeah.
So do you think that's a bit harsh that they're allowed to play? Because obviously, is there any testing that goes on for them when they're playing? Do they get tested?
The top 2 divisions are tested, which is a huge financial burden, I think. And I don't think that can be fulfilled further down the pyramid.
Okay.
Certainly not at our level. So it's a difficult one, and even I think what's quite challenging is that the men's side and the boys' side of things is governed by the EFL and the Premier League, where the women's leagues are governed by the FA. So the protocols are very, very different, which I think a lot of people fail to understand that you can't really say, outcomes the boys can and the girls can't, because whilst we're all connected to the same football club, we're actually governed by different people. So the protocols which the boys will now follow actually look a little bit different to what the girls would have to follow in terms of the protocols. And I think they're a lot tighter, if I'm honest. And yeah, it is a stretch actually for quite a lot.
You guys, just to give people a flavour, like we said, so last season you were top of the table, and the season was curtailed, so you couldn't get promoted, and you're currently top at the moment. So you guys are obviously doing something, right? Is Ipswich Town in that level of the pyramid one of the big guns?
Yeah, well, I think so. And again, that's probably down to the strength of what we were saying earlier about our academy team that are effectively a Cat 1 academy. our youth provision is one of the strongest in the whole country for academy players, and that's why we recruit so well. It's why we have so many international players, because of how strong our academy is.
Yeah.
Obviously, the effects of that then filter into the first team. So obviously, Paige and Sophie on the call now. Sophie is a second-year academy player. Paige is a third year, so she's kind of made the transition into the senior team. However, it's still eligible for the academy team. So in boys' terms, for those on the call, it's almost like Paige is very kind of similar situation to, say, like Andre, Teddy Bishop, Jack Lancaster, that have obviously made the transition. Sophie's more Dobra type situation, if that kind of makes sense for listeners. So
she gets picked, Joe. She gets picked more than Dobra does. Don't let's not get started on that, because we got a bee in our bonnet about him.
So yeah, and I think that's probably what makes us one of the strongest senior teams, probably outside the top two divisions. Really, is the fact that our academy is so strong and is producing really, really good players.
Brilliant.
So obviously, talking last time, Joe, when you're on, you said you're obviously a year behind, aren't you? Because obviously last year, top of the league, season was curtailed. You would have gone up, and you said you were quite surprised that sort of you had everybody stayed, didn't they? And you said if it did happen again, sort of this season, hopefully it won't, and you'll get to go where you should have done last season. Do you think Paige and obviously Sophie, you obviously want to play as at a higher level as you can, but obviously we're hoping with Ipswich Town, and obviously Joe's hoping, but sort of where do you see yourself in sort of 2-3 years' time? Do you see yourself playing at the top level?
I'd say obviously we want to play at the highest level we can, but ideally I don't know about Paige, but I know I'd love to work my way up with Ipswich with that. So to like actually start here and then work my way up with the same team would obviously be really good, other than moving around.
Yeah. Is that the goal? So if we get promoted, Joe, we go. Is that into the Championship?
No, so that'd be like League One.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And yeah, it is the goal. I think probably Sophie's answer is quite common with most, and obviously everybody will be in different situations depending on maybe how old you are as well. But I think it's why we recruit so well, is that we want to get to the top with what we've got. We want to make that commitment to all of our younger players, that we want to be unique, where we want to try and achieve really, really good things with players that we commit to over a significant period of time. And again, that is quite unique because, if you look at, in the women's game at the moment, Man United and Man City have brought over a few Americans, so has Tottenham. They went through a spell where, there were clubs that were bringing in some Spanish players, some players from Scandinavia, from Germany. And we want to be in a position where we try and achieve something that's quite special, but will be very challenging in that we want to ideally try and make that whole journey with players that have been through our whole system or come from our region.
Do you think that'd be sustainable, Joe, going forward? Because obviously, look, Ipswich Town, great academy reputation in the men's game with the girls obviously as well. But is that sustainable going forward? Sort of the higher we get, because obviously at the minute it must be frustrating for some of the girls, because obviously they'll go away with England. Because I know Paige, you're playing for the under-19s. You'll go away, obviously play with girls who are probably playing at a higher level, and then you have to come back down to sort of the level we're at the minute. Is that a little bit frustrating?
Possibly, but I also think it has its perks in that there'll be players that Paige and Sophie that will join up with the 19s that aren't getting games at that top level. So either sit on the bench or play in the academy team against our own academy players. So we've kind of looked at that situation for quite a while now, over a couple of years, and we're able to offer a lot in terms of playing academy football against the top academy teams, but also senior football. That brings lots of challenges and lots of experiences, because even a little example of that is that I'm sure Paige and Sophie will play international games against countries that are quite easy as well, and coming into our environment and playing games that they might find easy actually prepares them well for some of the experiences that they'll get with their national team. So there are outcomes that can be got from that. whilst we also recognise that we don't really want this going on any further than this year for sure, because otherwise it then poses a different challenge.
With the men's team's obviously been in the shadow of Norwich City for the last decade or so, but dare I say that our setup in the women's game is better than theirs at the moment?
Sorry, say that again. I was just reading. I couldn't.
We'll go. That's one of our regulars there, Callie. I was going to say, Ipswich men's team has been in the shadow of Norwich City men's team for the last 10 years or so. We've been a level below them constantly, but it looks like it's a different story in the women's game. Is our setup stronger than theirs up at Norwich?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Is that purely just because Ipswich Town put more investment into it, or what might the reasons be for that?
We have an academy licence that no one else in the region has in terms of our under-21s. So our closest academy team is probably West Ham, Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea.
Yeah.
So we have a big catchment area to recruit from because of the level that we're playing at within our academy, and Norwich don't have that. We were awarded the licence for that a few years ago, so that's just where
forward
we sit.
thinking. Let's get this question out of the way because we've got it on the screen here. It's from Callie, a regular, top man Callie. What's Paige and Sophie's thoughts on the criticism women's football gets? 360 TV posted Liverpool women's player Babajida, is that, scoring a quality goal but got slated purely because she was a woman. So there's obviously that kind of, people may not appreciate the quality because it's not got the same level of the men's game. What's your thoughts on that, girls?
I think it's when it's slated purely because they're females, that's obviously wrong. But equally, men's football gets criticism. So within the women's game, we need to be prepared to take the criticism. But if it's just purely based on the fact because she's a woman, then that's obviously not right.
Yeah. It's interesting because I used to work at the FA and was actually helped with the PR around the launch of the Women's Super League going back a few years ago. It's always been strange to me that they're almost seen as like two different sports, effectively, aren't they? You've got guys watching men's football might not want to watch women's football, even though it's exactly the same game, law of the game rule set. But you don't really see that in other sports. You see Wimbledon, men and women's tennis sitting side by side in the same tournament. I watch a lot of UFC and combat sports. We've had Amanda Nunes is probably seen as one of the best UFC fighters pound for pound in the world from Brazil, and she's headlining cards with men on the card. And then last night we had matchroom boxing from Wembley Arena, and that was headlined entirely by females. So it's interesting that, in some other sports, that kind of, I'll call it a divide, and this men-women's divide, doesn't seem to be as strong as what we may be seeing in football. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the examples you're giving are very much, individual sports.
Yeah.
And I just think that where the game's been, I don't think there's been enough of a pool of players that have been able to perform to produce a product that people want to watch.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is that I think that obviously the women's pyramid has got obviously 4 or 5 divisions, like the top 4 or 5 divisions have got, I don't know how many teams across them all, but at the moment, I still don't think that the pool of players is good enough and consistent enough to produce something that people want to buy into. I think we're now starting to find ourselves in a position with the 32 players under our provision are producing really good product, and that's why we're reaping the rewards of some really good support, some really good media coverage, because actually what we're dishing up is pretty good. And I just think that there would have been a time where, not necessarily at our club, but other clubs in the same sort of level, or even clubs that have got teams higher up, the product hasn't been good enough. And if you're trying to build something and make it credible and open to new corporate partners and whatnot, then it's got to be really, really good to watch. And I think the top level now are probably just about sussed it where, I watched the game Man United, Man City yesterday. Women's game was a really, really good game. And other than our games, I don't really tend to watch too many games of other teams. So That certainly caught my attention yesterday, and that's what we need ultimately for the games to continue to grow it and get more people watching it. Is that, again, the product needs to be really, really good and consistent.
You touched on that. Joe touched on that last time. I remember we had a chat about that, Joe, when we said about you'd beat Cambridge 10-0, you'd beat Peterborough 10-0, and you said about to be credible, I think we need to get promoted, don't we? Obviously, to play at a higher level, because when you're beating teams 10-0, you will have the tendency, people will think, I'm not going to watch that, because when you're watching a game, you don't want to see teams winning 10-0 every week, do you really?
No, and again, with all due respect to those teams, again, from flicking around social media, the week before I knew we were playing those teams, you kind of get an update of where they're at, and I think both of them teams had played and sort of got a positive result and had kind of put out on social media, like brilliant performance, excellent work, and actually, is it really brilliant? Because they've played us the following week, and the scoreline suggests that actually, is the level really brilliant? And we've tried to monitor we kind of praise our progress as well off the back of some of our experiences where we might win games, but we just try and maybe be a bit more realistic in how we evaluate it, because we don't really want to sort of be false with it. We want to make sure that if we are good, then
because I know you weren't that happy after Norwich, were you? I know you beat them 3-1 in the FA Cup, but I sort of saw some of your comments. You beat them. I think you were 3-0 up at half time, weren't you?
Yeah, and I think their manager said something similar in that we should be trouncing them, and we should, because we've got 9-10 players in our squad that have played international football. And they don't have that luxury, and other teams in our league don't have that luxury. So our expectation of our players is significantly higher, because we should be better. And sometimes that's difficult to manage, because I'm sure sometimes the players think, when am I going to get a bit of praise here or something? When is he going to be satisfied? But that's just how we see it, and I think we're all starting to see that now. And I actually think it's helping us work a little bit harder, train a little bit better, and play a little bit better as well.
And also, the women's game is also seeing these little windows of credibility coming in, aren't they, Joe? Because they've got the BT Sport deal. You obviously watched the game on there yesterday. You've got, I think it's the highlights packages are on BBC. We're seeing England women on occasions playing at Wembley Stadium. So there's these goals to aim for, isn't there? These sort of credible goals now. It's not like just going to be streamed on YouTube. You can actually be on a proper media platform and play in one of the world's greatest stadiums.
Yeah, and I think that just shows what I was saying earlier about, they're starting to get it right now at the top level where the product is really good.
Yeah.
People want to watch it. I mean, the viewing figures have been really good, I think, for the big games over the last couple of years now. And that has to continue, and it will gradually keep improving, and we'll all reap the rewards of that, hopefully, in the future.
Is women's football and girls' football, when I was at the FA, it was seen as this kind of, I'm going back 10 years here, it was seen as like the fastest growing female sport in the country. Has that kind of plateaued now? Is that still the case?
No, I think it's still growing. Even if you look at our numbers, I've only been doing the first team for not even 2 years, I don't think. The first game I took was in front of 34 people. And within 11 months, we're playing in front of nearly 800. So we've certainly made huge strides. Social media numbers, supporters groups. Hopefully, there's a few of them listening in, and they've all been vital for our growth. And even the numbers we took to Man City, 400 or 500 away supporters to our FA Cup game is really, really good numbers. So yeah, I don't think it's plateauing. I think it's improving, and hopefully the more we progress and hopefully move up the leagues, it will continue to improve as well.
Yeah, brilliant. That sounds like our podcast outreach, doesn't it? I think we've even had 34 people watching the first one.
We have a lot now. Whereabouts? What sort of ages did you two get involved in the game?
Yeah,
obviously, girls' football now, you'll see like grassroots. It's really, really popular. I'm just wondering sort of how you got into it and what sort of age.
So I personally, my brother used to play. So I kind of got into it, like kicking the ball in the back garden with my dad and my brother. And then I joined Ipswich when I was 8. So I played for Centre of Excellence when I was 8. and that was kind of the first team I played for, and it kind of got more serious from there.
About you, Sophie?
Yeah, so I played with my brother as well. We played in the same boys team till I was about 12, and then I joined a girls team, sort of was playing for a girls and boys team at the same time, and then I got into like Essex Centre of Excellence, and then eventually was at Ipswich.
Brilliant. Yeah, because I think with the kids, you can play in mixed football up to a certain age, can't you? Boys and girls.
Is it under 15s, Joe? Does that go to?
Oh, I'm not sure actually.
I think it's about 15s. I think so.
I know they play in mixed leagues now.
Mm.
So I know we'll have girls teams that play against boys teams of the same age or a year below, but I'm not sure if you can still play mixed. I'd assume you can. I need to dust up my knowledge on that a little bit.
Did your brother play goalie now, Paige, with your free kicks? Because I see your little clips, and you play centre back, don't you?
Yeah.
Where did you learn to take them free kicks? Because some of them, I think the first you scored your first goal against Norwich, wasn't it? You beat them 4-1. But some of them free kicks are superb.
Thank you.
Better than the men's teams. It's not hammering it against the wall.
I used to play centre mid, so I've actually been playing centre back for I think 2 years now. So probably partly due to when I was playing centre mid, maybe got a few more goal scoring opportunities.
So you take the pens as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, on the penalties.
Is that something you're sort of constantly practicing within training? You know, set pieces, penalties, that kind of thing. How have you got so good at it?
Yeah, no, I constantly practice. Like for about 15 minutes after training sessions, I'll practice penalties, corners, free kicks, just to repetition for those like set pieces. I think is what, makes you good at them. So I think
5 goals, 3 assists already this season. So looking good.
Yeah, not bad.
Who's like your inspiration on set pieces? Then is there sort of players that you watch and think, yeah, I want to kind of do that style, like a Ronaldo or somebody?
James Ward-Prowse.
He's very good, isn't he? He's very good. He's very underrated as well.
Yeah,
very good player.
Yeah. Who did he score that? Was it against Villa? Wasn't it? Was the recent one? Was it against Villa?
2 in the same game.
Got 2 in it. Yeah.
Do you guys train up at Playford Road then? Is that where your training takes place? Because we always hear, don't we, when people sign for the first thing, the facilities are unbelievable. Yeah. So please tell us, are the facilities unbelievable? What is it like in there?
Yeah, I think it's been a bit of a different period for us since March time because we don't have access to the things we had last year.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, you know, we get exactly what we need. The club have been, you know, really good to us in terms of you know, building relationships with Lee and Brian Klug, and even the manager over, you know, the last few years has been really helpful because, again, going back to what we said earlier, is that the product, the quality of our players have earned that respect. You know, and it's now meant that we're able to get what we need from the training ground in terms of facilities, pitch space, treatment, gym, analysis suites, and obviously it looks a bit different now because of the protocols are a little bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, the training ground, you know, is a really good place to be, and it's got everything we need.
Do you use the indoor facility there as well?
Yeah, so the dome we would use, but at the moment it looks a little bit different because it's kind of got a bit of a multi-use now because the main building's kind of been locked down. So the dome serves its purpose. So it's got some gym equipment in it, some treatment tables. So there's no training that takes place in it at the moment.
Okay. Here's a question for you, Paige. What would you say to someone like me? Martin's talking about himself here, I think, who may have missed a couple of, say, penalties and doesn't have the confidence to step up. That's obviously a mindset thing, right?
Yeah, I just say you've got to try and almost once something's happened, just forget about it. So each penalty, free kick is a new scenario. So you just got to focus on that one. And like I said about repetition, like go by yourself, practice them, get confidence back in hitting your spot, and to build it back up again.
Do you always, when you're taking a pen in that kind of pressure situation, do you always know which side you never change your mind when you're running up? Have you already made your mind up before you start the run?
No, I always decide before I pick the ball up.
And you always stick to that. You never change it.
No, I don't change.
You've not gone.
I'm going to
do a Panenka.
Did you see last night? Did you see last night, Joe? Did you see Sergio Ramos for Spain?
Missed two.
Yeah. 2 in one go. Yeah, he missed the keeper saved the first one, and then he tried one of them Panenkas. Have you ever tried one of them, Paige? Because I never.
I would never.
In the olden days, right? In the olden days, I might sound old. I remember a guy called Ray Stewart. I don't know if you've heard of him, Joe. He used to play for West Ham. He'd just run up and he'd absolutely smash it. Now, nowadays, when I see someone taking a penalty, it's like Fernandes does his little steps, Paul Pogba. I just think they're overcomplicating it. Surely, when you're taking a penalty, you just want to have a nice, smooth run up, pick where you're going to put it, don't change your mind, and then just hit the ball. They try and make it too complicated.
I tell you, one of the most complicated pens I ever saw. Do you remember Socrates, who played for Brazil? Had a beard like yours, the headband. He stood over the ball, right? He was Brazil captain. I think it must have been about 86 World Cup Mexico. He stood over the ball, but he had one foot in the air already to kick it. Lo and behold, he missed it. That was really, really weird. But that Fulham Panenka one was terrible, wasn't it? Who was the kid who took that?
Lookman.
Oh, that was it, yeah.
Right, Joe. So if that was Paige and it was the last minute of a game, it was the last kick of a game, and you're losing 1-0, and she done a Panenka and the goalie caught it, what would you say?
Fuming.
You would be, wouldn't you? You would absolutely be fuming.
No, and again, I'm sure different people will have different opinions on it, and I know when it goes in, you look very flamboyant, don't you? You look like an absolute king. But yeah, I'm with you on what you said about Ray Stewart, and I think Paige is fairly committed to that as well. Is that there's a process I know that she will follow and commits to a decision, and make you run up and make good contact and strike the ball well, and that's good enough for me.
But the Lookman one, Joe, why would you do that? It's the last kick of the game. If it goes in, like you say, you look an absolute star, but he looks an idiot. He looks an absolute fool, doesn't he? The goalie's not even had to. He's gone that way, and he's had time to get back and just catch it.
And again, I think a little bit of maybe my opinion around it is it could look a little bit different if you're Liverpool, Tottenham. You're in around the top 6. I think if you're a team that appears to be, doing everything they can to avoid relegation, I'm not sure that's the right way to go down.
Well, I mean, so we've heard about Paige there, Sophie, and Rich retweeted a video of some of your brilliant goals. Describe us what your game is.
Say that again, sorry.
Well, we've heard what Paige's strengths are to the team in sort of the set pieces and things. And Rich retweeted a video of yours the other day on Twitter, scoring some great goals. So what do you bring to the team? What's your strengths and position and that kind of thing?
I don't know. I'd say.
Don't be shy now. It's your chance to pick yourself up here.
Yeah, I'll try not to. Yeah, I'd say like putting crosses in the box, even if it's not for me to score it, for Tash to get a red on it or something.
See, I've got a comment here, Matt, about
Sophie.
I've got a comment here, Sophie. I got it last night from one of the websites. It says, one of the standout players in the Women's National League. Wow. And then it says, you got a senior hat-trick against Stevenage at just 16 years of old. 24 appearances last season, 15 goals, 11 assists. That might be the other way around, but that's pretty phenomenal figures.
Yeah, it was a good season for me last year. Yeah, I didn't expect to play first team last year, so obviously getting the opportunity to do it, I had to take my chance really.
So you're an Arsenal fan. You're an Arsenal fan, aren't you, Sophie?
Yeah, I am.
Who's what sort of heroes did you have growing up playing for Arsenal?
Well, I was a bit disappointed. I sort of missed the Thierry Henry era. I sort of saw him a little bit.
Downhill after that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I sort of wish I'd have seen that and the Invincibles, but I always liked Santi Cazorla.
Yeah, very good player.
Still going now, isn't he? Was he Villarreal?
Yeah, Villarreal. He had a really bad injury, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
What about you, Paige? Who do
Yeah,
you
I
follow?
thought he wasn't going to play again, but
I support
but
Man United.
Who?
Man United.
Man United. Why do you support them? Why do you support them? Come on.
Because my dad supports them, so I just...
Fair enough. What do you think? What do you think of Solskjaer?
Not sure at the minute.
Oh, Ollie's at the wheel. What about you, Joe? Who do you follow? Do you follow a team?
Not really. I was born in Dagenham. All my family are West Ham, but obviously work for Ipswich. I don't really have. Obviously, got an invested interest in the men, so watch all their games as much as possible. Probably the only result to look out for, really. But yeah, not particularly a diehard of anybody. I don't think there's any result on a Saturday that if they win, I'm overly ecstatic, and if they lose, I'm a bit disheartened. So not a bad way, maybe.
All my family are from that neck of the woods. They're all West Ham. I don't know why I chose Ipswich. Error. Should have gone with the others. But in terms of just looking on here, looking back now to the FA Cup game last season with Man City, obviously not the greatest result that you all really wanted. But I suppose there were so many lessons. We're looking at players that we admire here. So many lessons to be able to take. It's the experience over the result, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, and probably better off getting the players. I know Paige and Sophie both played in that, so maybe it'd be good to get their perspective of that, because I could spend hours talking about my learnings and reflections.
Yeah.
Perhaps the players would like to discuss theirs.
Well, before we get into that, Joe, what was the kind of the expectation going up there? It was always going to be such a hard game, wasn't it? But I suppose, on the coach up there and in the team talk, was it try and take as much as you can from the game? What was your kind of message to the girls before kickoff?
Yeah, I talk about it quite a lot, actually. Always, anytime maybe people want to get me on to talk about stuff, that's usually the game we talk about. And it's really difficult to fully understand the whole result without knowing the sort of context behind it. And I think, now knowing that sort of the league we play at, and, 80-90% of our squad are really, really young. And we only got the draw 2 weeks before, so we've got 2 weeks to prepare, really, against one of the best teams in the world. So it was really difficult for us because, as you'll know by our results and performances, that we're quite dominant at our level.
Yeah.
And have been for some time. So then you're in a position where you're playing a team where your dominance now doesn't become dominance, but you don't know any other way. So it was a really difficult game to plan for, actually. And ultimately, I think one thing we've developed across the whole club from our perspective is that we have unquestionable belief in everything we do. And, Sophie and Paige are both great examples of players that play with such confidence, and their kind of performances and goals show that. And you can't just switch that off. You can't just then go, right, okay, everything that we've been trying to inherit over the last couple of years now, just forget about that, because this is a bit different. You have to kind of go with what you know. However, we knew that it was a 1 in a million game. We were playing against, I think, I don't know how many players, but I think 5 or 6 of their players started for England in the World Cup semi-final, only not even a year earlier.
Yeah.
And half of our players were at that game, or not at that game, but at that competition watching. And now we're having to play him for a place in the FA Cup quarter-final. Yeah. So it was a really difficult game to kind of prepare for, really, because it was something that we'd never encountered before. And whilst we knew it was a 1 in a million game, we're also a team that has such belief. So it's just trying to find that right balance, really. And I think the only thing we did do is, again, we kept saying it was a 1 in a million game, and this game could be that one. So let's aim for that, and see where it takes us.
Joe got a bit excited when you got a corner, didn't you, after 20 minutes when it was 0-0?
Massively. I thought this is it. I thought we're going to cause the biggest cup upset in the history of football here, and then they scored about 9 seconds later.
Yeah. The highs to the lows, yeah. But you see these results sometimes, don't you? I mean, look at last season's Champions League. Barca let in 8 against Bayern Munich, didn't they? So I mean, even at that top level,
I don't think people outside of our bubble, I guess, wouldn't really know the golf. I mean, the golf is unbelievable, and it's you got 8 players under the age of 18 that don't get paid, that train sort of twice a week, that are almost giving 8 years on players that have played over 100 games for England at season. It's almost like Ipswich men's under 18s going to play Man City's first team in the FA Cup. And what also went against us is that their manager had just left. So the assistant was taking the game for the first time.
Alan Marm, wasn't it? He's down,
He wasn't willing to risk, getting beat in his first game against us. So they had a point to prove themselves. So it made for a great experience, but obviously a very, very difficult game to play in.
Yeah. And what was your takings from it, Paige? I mean, I guess it goes without saying you was all gutted, but I mean, I suppose as Joe says there, you're on the coach coming home. At least you've got that experience to take forward into a new season. Yeah,
no, definitely. After the game, I wasn't the happiest of people. I think it's fair to say. No one likes getting beat 10-0, no matter who it's by. But definitely, like a few days later, upon reflection, like playing against the players that we did in like that latter round of the FA Cup, like it's an experience that not many our age are fortunate enough to have. So it's definitely something that I've learned a lot from.
What about you, Sophie? You equally as gutted?
I think we all had so much hope, and like again, as Joe said, like we all thought, oh, this could be a one-off game, and like obviously we knew it would be tough, but I think the fact that we had so much hope and then lost 10-0, it was hard. But I think then we got to see what that top level was like, and I think so we all learned a lot from it.
Yeah. But then you bounced back, didn't you? On the midweek, you played Norwich, didn't you?
Yeah, I think the first team to lose and win 10-0 in the space of 3 days.
Record breakers. This is what we want. Yeah, history makers. Yeah.
That was a game I think we were quite worried about. Well, I was anyway, because I thought there'd probably be no better time to play us. From a physical perspective, when you had to chase Man City around a pitch for 90 minutes, and then 3 days later have to go and play away against your club's rivals on a boggy, torrential rain evening. I didn't know how we would respond to that because again we hadn't been 10-0 before. So great character from the group and a testament really to their attitude and application and reaction from it to put in a performance like that.
Goes back
so we got heart.
We always say on the show, don't we, Rich? It's all about mindset, isn't it? Mindset's so strong. Be able to come back from losing 10-0 to winning that margin yourself. It's fantastic. Go on, Rich.
So you got Harlow in the next round, haven't you? The FA Cup.
Yeah.
What level are they at, Joe?
One below.
Oh, so is that away?
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that going to be December time as well? Do you think?
I'm not sure. I think that could be a game that takes place in January.
Okay.
I would have thought, but yeah, who knows? I think the rearrangements can change.
So you've got to set yourself up for sort of, when does lockdown end? Is it on the
2nd of December, isn't it? Yeah.
So when will you train? When will you train, Joe? Will you train on that Friday if you're allowed?
Yeah, if the government guidelines suggest we can, and we'll be straight back in. But yeah,
Do you have any friendlies? Any friendlies arranged before the league, or will it be straight back in?
Probably not. Again, we've got our kind of medical support staff is so good. And actually, I wouldn't be surprised if half of our team come back fitter than they were before we got locked in, because the work our guys do behind the scenes is phenomenal. So yeah, from a physical perspective, no concerns really. And again, because so many of our players are still in education, some of them are still training at school, so they still get an opportunity to do a little bit.
Get yourselves on the Joe Wicks. Little supplement. What tactics do you play, Joe? What's your kind of preferred formation? Because we've seen a lot with the men's first team this year about this style of play, the 4-3-3. Do you have a similar attacking style for people who have not seen you? What's your kind of go-to formation?
Yeah, pretty much that, if I'm honest. You know, I learned a lot from the manager when he first came in around what he kind of thought his methods would be. And we learned a lot actually from him and Stuart and Matt Gill that, you know, we took a lot of that knowledge on board and implemented it in with our own program, and we've kind of been consistent with that for a couple of years now. I think what I've learned is that the shape of your team, you call it a 4-3-3 as such, isn't actually that important. It's more how you operate and how you want to get the ball from one end to the other, and what your principles are within that. And I think a good example of that last year is that we kept that same principle and strategy, but we flipped our shape a little bit a couple of times. And we could possibly do that again this year because we've got the personnel to do so. So we played a 4-3-3 at the start. We went to a back three with a midfield four and a front three. And yeah, we can be fairly flexible actually, and we kind of stuck with that for a little bit. But we can play either or shape, and I think, you know, the work we've done over a couple of years now means that whatever kind of shape we commit to, you know, you wouldn't come and watch us and think you're watching a different team. You know, that the method is fairly the same.
We get a lot of people on Twitter and stuff. What do we call them, Rich? Twitter Pep Guardiolas, don't we? Sort of seem to think they know everything about coaching.
It's hard nowadays, isn't it? With social media, Joe, I suppose I'm not. With football, everyone thinks they know what they're doing, don't they? They all think they're a manager. Me and Matt, obviously, we think we know what we're doing. We probably ain't got a clue. But it must be hard for someone like Paul Lambert. You've got a question left from Callie. How do you bounce back from a loss, especially with such a young squad? Our men's team are young and don't seem to be able to bounce back. What tips would you give Lambert and the lads?
Well, yeah, I think, you know, we're in a totally different situation. Because, you know, at that level, you know, there's a lot of teams that, you know, are really competitive, and I think a good example last year is you look at Wickham, had nothing to lose really.
Definitely.
And that can be such an asset, you know, when you've got that. And I think in the women's game now, Birmingham City are very similar. So Birmingham played Villa yesterday and had one sub. Villa have got a lot of backing from the club. They're on the up, but I know Birmingham's manager pretty well, and you know, when you know you're up against it. I think they only had 10 players coming into pre-season, or not even that. Suddenly you've got something extra special. You know, you've got like we're up against it type attitude, and that can be massive for you. You know, when you look at our situation, you know, no team in our league have got what we've got. So actually, the expectation's a little bit different, you know, within us, and I think it's very easy for us to commit to something because the quality we've got. So no one's got international players at our level, not one, let alone 9, 10. So yeah, it's a bit easier for us in some respects because the gulf is pretty huge and the results show that.
But then you still got to keep them standards up, haven't you, Joe? Because girls, sort of, when you're playing teams, and I think we spoke about this before. It's probably mentally, isn't it? You turn up and you think we'll beat these teams today. You know, we've beaten them before. I think Cambridge, Peterborough, you played. You're winning 7-0 at half time. It must be hard for the girls to keep them standards up, or is it just right? We're winning 7-0. We're going to go out there and just play exactly the same as we did in the first half.
If you'd have asked me that question before we played Norwich, I'd have gone, no, we're fairly good at keeping the standards. Norwich maybe showed us it could get complacent. So, you know, that's something we will battle through. Because ultimately, you know, we've got players that all want to play for England and play at the top level. So we've got a duty to ensure those standards stay high for that to become a reality. But yeah, and just going back to the previous point is that we're lucky that, you know, we film all of our games, but that isn't often the case with everybody else. So teams don't really have an opportunity to really prepare for us because they don't really know what we're going to do. Or they might think they know what they're going to do. But we have so many variables to how we play. And, one thing I know about the men's situation is that, every game is filmed. Every analysts across the country working for clubs will pay so much attention to how you play, to counter what you do, and obviously try and exploit areas of you, and that can make it really challenging, I think. So we're a bit different where we have the luxury of being able to play how we play, and teams can't really prepare for it because they don't have enough resource or enough footage to implement.
I suppose as you go higher, though, that'll probably you're going to have more people watching, more analysts. Sort of, you're not going to be able to play that way. Then you're going to have to sort of change things up a little bit.
Well, our hope is that our model, as I said earlier, around committing to these players, is that being consistent with something. What we now kind of 2-3 years in, with the same group of players, that continuity over 4 or 5 years, I'd like to think would put us in a position in a couple of years where actually we are so good at what we do, it's so ingrained that actually we're so difficult to stop.
Was it saying, Graham, please tell Paul Lambert go direct for goals instead on playing backwards boring football? Well, let's go back to that previous point there, because, Joe, we're talking 4-3-3, and I was, you've got bona fide coaching qualifications. What are the pros and cons of a 4-3-3? Why is it a good formation, do you think?
Again, I don't think necessarily it's about the shape. It's very much personnel for us. We have a very specific method in how we want to play. Players in those positions complement that, and the roles of the players in those positions also mean that we're able to do what we want to do ultimately. But like I said earlier, is that we're able to, a team that's got a clear identity, if you want to call it that, and structure to their play could flip between various shapes, I think, to have some success. So, yeah, I'm sure there'll be other shapes that we'll play that might benefit us even more. But with the personnel we've got, it kind of suits at the moment. So it works for us. Yeah.
Judging by the highlights, it seems get the ball to Sophie and she'll go on one of her runs.
You're not far wrong. I know, and I think that's where I'm happy to share it because we've got so many different options. But ultimately, when we had Natasha on the other week, she's got a new role that's very selfless, that actually plays predominantly in areas that leave spaces for Sophie, really, among other attacking players to exploit, to go and score. And that's it, really. And then we obviously coach how we get the ball to where Sophie's going to potentially run to go and do the magic. So, yeah, we look at our creative attacking players. Ultimately, how can we get them in threatening areas to go and score? And we build our game very much around that.
Well, Paige,
so Paige is having a cup of tea at the back. Then, while we're doing all this attacking, you can just take it into it, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you? Because you've only conceded 1 goal all season, haven't you, so far?
Yeah.
Against Norwich.
Yeah.
That must be a bit gutting to actually let a goal in, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I mean,
Joe was fuming, throwing teacups around. What?
Yeah, it's one of those things that it come off the back of one of our corners. And whilst we don't have an excuse policy as such, but I don't think the referee helps us. Not through fault of their own. I think if you look at how we try and secure ourselves at the back, since I've watched it back a couple of times, I think the referee just obstructs Molly, who's on the edge of the area for us, where she can't affect the player. He kind of just puts it away accidentally, and it just means then that we're outnumbered. We can't match up when they recover.
Yeah.
So.
Talking about referees there, Joe, what is the standard of refereeing like at your level?
Appalling.
Really?
Perhaps we should leave that there. We don't want to get in trouble.
No, I mean, but at the same time, sorry, maybe appalling's too harsh, but I don't expect them to be good, really, because and I look at, I watch men's games, watch Premier League.
Well, you've obviously seen the last 2 games that we've played. Look at I think there's probably about 5 decisions that have gone against us, isn't there?
The way I look at it is that, referees aren't getting things right at the top level. So how can we expect someone to get it right for us? So, maybe appalling was the word, because I don't truly think that. But I don't pay much attention to them, and neither do us, neither the team really. I think, I only ask that they protect our players, because sometimes we can come up against teams that try and kick lumps out of us. But I don't really pay much attention to decisions, whether it be a throw in one way or the other.
Yeah.
Goal kick wrong or a corner wrong. I've kind of learned the ability to literally totally ignore their presence to a certain extent and just worry about what we're doing, because like I said earlier, is that I can't expect them to get it right.
Do you have man
They
and
always say
female
that
officials, match officials, man and female match officials?
Yeah, either or. Yeah,
There was a
always do
female
say,
referee
Matt.
yesterday, Rich. Gibraltar San Marino. I dipped into that for about 5 minutes and then thought I'd do something else.
But they always do say, don't they, Joe, with the referees, because obviously the men's team have had some rough decisions. They will even themselves out over the season. Now, I don't really buy into that, to be honest.
yeah.
Yeah, as I say, we get some strange decisions, but I don't.
They do say you make your own luck, don't they? They do say you make your own luck. Right, I've got a question for the girls. What is Joe like as a manager?
Do you want the honest answer? Or...
Yeah, be honest. Yeah, you can be honest.
No, he's really good. Yeah, I've had him. I mean, me and Sophie have both had him for 3-4 years now. Yeah, very good. One of the best I've had.
I'd say he's very approachable. Like, if you've got a problem or if you want help with anything, like, you go and ask and he's willing to help you.
That kind of sort of openness, transparency. Yeah. Is it? We just had a question from Callie there. Are there plans to offer an iFollow type pass for the women's team? Do you have are your games ever streamed at all?
We have done, yes. We have stream games. Often depends on power source and internet.
Yeah.
But kind of Kieran is big on, and as we hopefully progress up the leagues, there'll be more things that we can offer media wise.
Yeah, more opportunities.
I don't know. Obviously, I follow very much EFL based.
So YouTube or something, or on Facebook or something.
Yeah, I think we obviously we have a True Blue membership where we've got well over 100 now supporters that contribute to our journey, if you like. And I know when we've not been able to have games with them in attendance, we've streamed it for them. So we have streamed games before for our True Blue members.
We've just been told Paige has been called up for the England development teams. Is Sophie around the cusp of that at the moment, do you think?
Sophie's going as well.
Oh, brilliant. This is what, under 19s, is it?
Yeah.
So you go to what, St George's Park?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I worked on the opening of that, so I've stayed up there a few times. How do you find it? Do you like it there?
I love it. Yeah.
How does that indoor football centre compare to
really nice
Ipswich's
facilities.
one? Yeah, really good. How does that indoor football facility compare to the one at Ipswich? Is it very similar?
I mean, the one at Ipswich is obviously very good, but I mean, St George's Park is just kind of...
Yeah, it's got everything there, isn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Good
I think
stuff.
last time, Joe, we had 7, didn't we? Called up for the age groups. When's the next round of games? Are you still allowed to travel, Paige? Or are they just home games?
Well, so we've actually got a camp next week, but we've not, because of the virus, we've not had any international fixtures as of yet. So we've played against, last camp we played against Liverpool women. And then we normally do like one kind of external domestic fixture and one just internal game since the virus, because we've got then in February we've got the Euro qualifiers coming up, so obviously we'll travel for that, but whilst the virus is going on, they try to limit.
Yeah, and you just play your matches on those practice pitches there, do you?
Yeah.
So I mean, I've got one last question for you guys. I mean, one for Joe really. How do you think Phil Neville did it at the helm of England women, Joe? Did you kind of Do you think he did a good job? Was it difficult for him coming in from his background into the female game? How do you think he did?
I don't really know, to be honest. I know it's probably not the answer you'd want to hear. I don't really know. I don't really know enough about what it was key, or what his kind of methods or his key messages to his players were. Because obviously I wasn't involved in any of those kind of meetings. But so it's very difficult to analyse how he did over his helm. But depends what way you look at it. You know, I think that. I know he got to a World Cup semi-final, but in his tenure, I think the growth of the women's game has been massive, far greater than it was under Mark Sampson, who also reached World Cup semi-final. So obviously reaching a World Cup semi-final was massive, but there wasn't any progress in terms of getting further in the competition based on the previous. So would you say he's done a better job or not? I don't know, but whilst we've also got better, so has Holland, so has United States, so has other countries. So difficult, difficult to assess really.
I suppose it was a good appointment from the fact that again it gave added credibility to the game. It's got a name that's well known within the Premier League and within England men's football. Suddenly saying, "Yeah, I'm going to give this a go." So I think it was probably a good move from that point of view. Again, it's that PR aspect, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I was, among one of 80-odd thousand that watched England play Germany, November 2019. So, a sellout at Germany for an England women's game is obviously really, really big. There's been lots of progress on that front for sure.
Paige and Sophie, you fancy playing in a World Cup semi-final one day?
I wouldn't mind it.
That'd be decent. Yeah. I think, Martin, we're almost done here, aren't we, Martin? We've hit our hour.
We've done over an hour. We're over an hour.
Yeah, we're over an hour.
Have you enjoyed it, girls? Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, no, it's been really good.
Yeah, it's good.
Have you done any media training? Because obviously coming on here and talking to me and Matt is a bit sort of, it might be daunting
for a lot of,
well, no, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And we always do interviews like after games, so that's practice.
So
you do media training, do you?
Well, we do like post-match interviews, pre-game interviews, but I guess we've not had any official media training as such.
Yeah. And I'd say, like, if I look at my first interview to now, it's like so different. So I still think it's like really good practice.
Joe can talk. I could listen to Joe talk all day because he's so knowledgeable.
Let's see. Martin, are you around? Are you still on FM 21? What's he doing? Oh, here he comes. Look.
No,
he's done it today.
There he's back. He's put the baby down.
I put the boy down, he's crying, but I put him down because I heard my name. I might have missed it, but can I ask, it's a question for Joe, really. Obviously, you mentioned Phil Neville in England there. Surely that's got to be an aspiration one day that you're going to be the main man of England. You're going to be Mr. England manager.
I don't really know where my path's going to go, to be honest. I'm quite enjoying club football. I'm not sure I'm cut out for international football, really. I quite like the week leading up, the process of trying to win 3 points every week and taking a club as high as possible, really. It's not to say if I was ever offered it, I would turn it down, because I don't know what you think in that situation. But yeah, I do like club football a lot. I like the sense of real belonging to an organisation like Ipswich, where the day-to-day involvement at the football club as a whole is something I quite like, and the people that I work with. So yeah, not sure.
Obviously, we've seen people before balance it, so it's possible. But I know what you're talking about. There's different disciplines, isn't there? As an international manager than a club manager, it's more day to day, hustle and bustle. Really, you're dealing with players on a regular basis, as opposed to every couple of months.
And I think that the way I like to work, and like I said before, the process of trying to get a team to play how we think is most effective. I'm not sure at international football would have that opportunity. You've got players coming in from all different clubs and limited time with them to try and instill a particular way of playing. I'm not sure that'd be possible, and that's something I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was one of the things we used to see, Joe, at the FA was like, I did a lot of work with England, the men's youth development teams. You'd have a lot of politics coming in from the clubs. You know, we don't want this person doing media, or they probably didn't want that player actually starting the game and all that kind of thing. So you've got all those plates to spin as well when you're in the international game.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine it being, a very challenging job dealing with and players from all different clubs that have all got different priorities. So yeah, I'm not sure I'd be cut out for that.
Yeah.
Have you got your new assistant yet, Joe?
Not yet, no.
There you go, Matt. Slide in there.
I was thinking more like you, Cruncher.
You've got the coaching qualifications.
Well, maybe. Don't want to.
Put the old CV in. Go on and see how far you get.
You're good on Football Manager, Martin. Surely you.
Yeah, I mean, God, you're Mr. Tactics.
Football Manager and real life football management are two completely different things. Having done both of them, they're two separate things. Man United was mentioned earlier in the show. Paul Pogba is obviously a big figure at United. Do you enjoy watching Paul Pogba? Does he frustrate you as a United player? Do you want to see more out of him, from him?
That's for Paige. She's a Man U fan.
It is.
I personally really like Pogba, and he definitely gets way more slate and criticism than that's fair on him. I think he's definitely targeted by the media. But yeah, I definitely want to. I mean, he started the last few games on the bench, so I definitely want to see him starting.
Yeah. Is he your favourite player?
Probably wouldn't say favourite player, but one of.
I think even Solskjaer, though, he gets it in the ear now from the media. They're not going to leave him alone now. They're not. It's like a dog with a bone, The media got hold of him, and whatever he does, they're going to be onto him. Where you think Man United, they're not what they were under Fergie, and I think it's not just the manager, because they had Moyes, Van Gaal, they had Mourinho. They can't get into a sack another manager and then get Pochettino probably. And you have to stick with somebody. And then just see it through, don't you, Joe? You can't keep changing managers every 2 years, because then he'll bring in a whole load of new players, and then it's just I don't know.
Someone clip this up for me, please, because I'm going to use this every single week when you go on your mini Cruncher rants about a certain person we won't mention today. But yeah, you're right. Give gaffers time. I agree with that one. So over an hour. I've really enjoyed listening. I did a little promotion video for you all, and it was riveting stuff. It really was. So, Joe, Sophie, and Paige, thank you ever so much for taking the time.
Thanks very much
to stop and speak with us. We'll be back next week for the match day ticket, Talking Town. But from now, we're done. So, Paige, Sophie, and Joe, thank you ever so much.
Thanks a lot.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.